Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to do a review of my Honda Integra Type R after 6 years of ownership. But it's not your average Type R. I bought this car in November 2015 and it was a fresh import and it cost me £9,000 to get it on the road, which back then was quite expensive, but in today's market that's an absolute bargain. I don't think you'd be able to do that today. And when I got it, it was completely stock. There was no modifications, nothing. And stock DC5, it's got 217 horsepower and 152 foot-pounds of torque, which in today's market, you know, today's hot hatches, that's not very impressive. But you got to remember, these cars are 20 years old. Back then, that was pretty impressive. And the weight of these cars as well is a massive thing to think about. They only weigh 1,190 kilograms, so that's pretty light hatchback. And then after I owned it for about 3 years, I thought I'm going to start modifying it. So eventually I ended up strapping a turbo to it. It now has 430 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque, which compared to today's hot hatches is actually pretty impressive. The only problem is, in the wet, it can be a bit of a handful. Stretch your legs away from all the traffic and everybody else. It is so much fun. And this car makes noises that, well, I'll just have to show you quickly. Noise just spooling up now, just very quickly. You're going too fast in this car. It just puts a smile on my face and I absolutely love it. The only downside is with all the turbo stuff is you don't get that VTEC crossover like I used to, but with the amount of extra power I've got now, I can live with that. I really can. But if you're in the market to buy one of these cars, there are a few things you want to bear in mind and a few things to look for that I didn't know about when I bought this. Luckily, with it being a fresh import, I didn't really have to worry too much. But there are some things you want to look at if you're looking to buy one of these. And instead of me just telling you what to look for, I've got another Integra at the workshop. So I'm just going to show you guys. Alright, so this is the Integra we've got at the workshop at the moment. It's actually my friend Luke's, who I share the unit with. And yeah, these are some of the things you need to be looking out for. Basically, where the bottom panel meets the rear, these tend to go on here. So when you get underneath of these, have a good look, make sure these are okay. Also, the main thing is the arches. You guys need to check that. On this one, the arch isn't too bad, but there is a small hole in here. So these are some of the things you need to look for. These are pretty easy to look at, but the main things you need to be wary of that are quite hard to spot really is on the inside. Now, before anyone asks, I do not know why someone has painted this red, but they have. So a common thing on these Integras is the rear seals leak. Basically that's like foam, but after a while they perish, and then when water gets in they leak, and then the water basically just leaks into the wheel well, and as it sits for a while it starts to rust through the bottom of the floor. So this one's just started, as you can see, but one of the other things to check is behind the speaker cover here, you can look down into the bottom here, and you see in there a lot of the Integras are pretty rusty in there. This one's not so bad, but this is one of the places you need to be looking. And on the floor there that you can see what's coming through, because it's only really seam sealed together, and you can see there it's starting to come through. So those are the most common places to look for. You can get it on the front as well, but those are the main things to look for. Obviously these cars are getting old now, so, and they are Japanese, and they didn't come under-sealed from factory because the climate over there is really good. So it is a good idea to protect them somehow, whether you wax oil it, whether you paint it, or put some sort of clear wax on, because I know people have got different opinions on what's the best way to go at these. I under-sealed mine and I've never had an issue since, and that was a few years ago now. But yeah, those are the things to look for. Right guys, so now that you know what to look for when buying an Integra, you might also be wondering about the running costs. Well, for me to insure this, it is about £500 a year. I've gone with green light car insurance because of all the modifications I've done. I wanted to go with an insurer that covers all this extra stuff, which they do. I've been with them for about 5 years and I've had no issues, so as far as I'm concerned, they're good. Tax wise, I pay this 20 quid a month, and the reason I do that is because when it comes to the winter months, I generally leave the car in the garage and I just sawn it. So 20 quid a month for the tax, done the insurance. Fuel wise, now you guys might be wondering if you're going to run the E10 fuel or super unleaded. I would just stay with the super unleaded. The E10 fuel is basically only really suitable for the newer petrol engines. The stuff is quite abrasive and it does damage like the old rubbers in the older petrol engines that weren't really designed for it. So I would stick to super unleaded, especially if you're leaving your car sat for a while, because it does last a lot longer than the E10 fuel. So, nice little ride out to the seaside, and of course we are sat in traffic. But while we're here, I might as well talk to you guys about the reliability on these Integras. Now, over the last 6 years, I've never actually had anything go wrong with this car. It's never broken down. And all I've needed to replace on this is like brakes and service parts. And that's all really these K20 engines need. Just a regular oil change. I do mine once a year. I only do like 2,000 to 3,000 miles a year. But I change the oil every single year and I just look after it. And you know what I mean? They say if you look after a car, it'll look after you. And I kind of believe that, because I have looked after this car. And I've enjoyed it very much. And now I've kind of reached towards maybe the end of my journey with this car after the 6 years. And if I ever got rid of this car, it's not because I'm not happy with it or that it doesn't make me smile. It does. The only reason I'd probably change it is because maybe I fancy trying something else. But I'm not sure where I'd go after the DC5, especially a turbo DC5, because I've got all the power. I don't know. Let me know what you think. What would you go for after a DC5? Right guys, that's going to be about it for this video. I hope it's been of some help to you guys, and if you've got any questions on the tags, give me a shout. I should be able to answer it for you. But until then, I will see you in the next video.